yours that you are.
Yeah. Let's go. I was waiting for my little dude to come up and say bullshit.
Bullshit.
Because I thought he was supposed to be set to automatically go off. Well, welcome back to Perception Theory, where people's perceptions in this country seems to be right the hell off.
Yeah.
Well, not 70, 80 million of them because they voted
right
correctly.
Well, I think the other thing, too, is now the finger pointing is going to start, and everybody's trying to figure out, what went wrong with the whole Democratic Party thing, and they finally are starting to realize that they need to, I guess, kind of go back and refocus things. And
hey, Dutch, how you doing, man? Right off the bat.
What's going on, Dutch?
Well, I could tell you what went wrong. So, even without just bringing out the bullshit, people saw that the economy was shit.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was shit. Like, for instance, I just read an article today that they said a restaurateur, somebody who owns a restaurant, said right after Trump was elected, he said his sales went up by 60%.
Oh, really?
In the first 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And he talked to a bunch of friends that he has, other friends that own restaurants. Same thing.
Really?
Same thing. And to me, I would say to me that says that people have a little bit more trust in the economy, that it's going to get better.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So
I thought the other thing that was interesting too was the fact of how much gas prices went down.
Yes.
Got a window pane. Got to make everything look nice and pretty before January rolls around.
Yeah. So that's another thing. But thanks for joining us. So, like I said, today we're going to be talking about FEMA's incompetence. Now, I'm actually going to start out. It's not that under this administration that FEMA has started to get crappy.
Oh,
it's been going on for a while, and hopefully with what's went on in North Carolina, maybe Trump will appoint somebody that says, okay, you know what, let's figure out what the hell's going on and cut the shit.
Right.
But FEMA's been effed up for a long time. And before we get really into it, here's my thing with FEMA. So I was in the military for a while, and some of the things that they need to do, especially emergency, is not that freaking hard, right? Like for instance, once they said, oh, we need to be able to get fresh water and power and food to these people, bruh. I was a Pathfinder. We did chopper sling loads, all for weapons, ammunition, supplies, and everything else. You could go and you could do a sling load, bloom, and that's where you got a sling load is where you have a huge pallet of stuff, and it's in this netting and stuff, and you hook it to the back underneath the helicopter. The chopper comes in, drops it down. You got somebody on the ground, undoes it. Right there, you can load water, food, generators, freaking tents and stuff for temporary. Like that. And it's like, bruh,
yeah,
it's not that effing hard. I mean, to bring them out of that stuff. Now
sure.
that's where the really difficult shit is. But to get them the immediate needs just for survival, we did it in the military. We've done the military for decades,
right,
or for centuries.
Yeah.
And you got the National Guard, which is basically there. So just,
yeah, you would think,
bruh. And I think, and I'm pretty sure that Dutch, he says fellow loser. So unfortunately, now you're gonna get me on my soapbox. So I was on Dutch's team, and we were on Swedish team. So our friends at Songs and Thongs, that do the music reactions. So they had this music battle. So you had these teams, and I think so we had the genres were pop music, golden oldies, and then metal. So what we were supposed to do is we picked a song for each of those, right, and then they would spin a wheel, and so somebody from our team, they would play our video or for our music against somebody from another team's music, right?
Okay.
And then people voted. And so Dutch and I were on the team. We got our ass kicked. I mean,
no.
and let me explain something to you. What's up, Rodri? Let me just tell you something about this voting. All right. Now I'm a little biased because my music was put. Okay, so remember when? So here's one of the big ones that just pissed me off. I'm gonna be honest. So for Golden Oldies, I did Bad Company.
Okay.
Right, and it was them live at Red Rocks, and it is an amazing live performance.
Right.
So I went up. So that was my thing for Golden Oldies. I went up against Little Richard. Long Sally, long something Sally.
Okay.
Like in Predator. Remember the movie?
Yes.
When they're flying in the helicopter, he's like long Sally, blah blah blah, whatever. So Bad Company went up against that, and we tied.
What?
That's what I said. I said, "Are you out of your effing mind that those two would be on the same?"
Yeah.
I was like,
it was rigged.
That's what I kept saying. I was
It's
like,
rigged.
But overall, it was fun. But I will say that one right there, that one pissed me off. I'm like, there's no fucking way that you're gonna do that Little Richard song with Bad Company. No fucking way. And I'm like, that one pissed me off. I'm like, come on, people. I think there might have been a lot of trolls, and they were just picking like some goofy shit. Because there's one more. So there's one more that somebody did. Del Shannon and Runaway.
Okay.
Run. It went up against shit. What was the other? Oh, it went against Iris from the Goo Goo Dolls.
Okay.
It went against Iris from the Goo Goo Dolls, which, if you're talking, but it's talking about what the 80s. Iris went up against Runaway, and Runaway beat it. I'm like, are you out of your?
Right.
That beat. I'm like, anyway. So yeah, I was on my. So the rest of them, I was like, okay, this is kind of bullshit. But,
right.
But when Bad Company when Little Richard tied with Bad Company, I was like, that's fucking bullshit.
Sons of bitches.
That's like, I think people are just trolling just to be assholes.
Right.
There's no way. Anywho.
Hey, Rodri.
But anyway, we got our ass kicked. I think it was like 7-1 or. Oh yeah, we got our ass kicked.
Wow.
Ass kicked.
Wow.
Long Tall Sally. Why do you think I do not volunteer? Last time I did, hell kicked my arse. I forgot you need to pick stuff everyone else likes, not just my weird shit. No, I get it. And but Long Tall Sally, I mean, I actually like the song, but
right.
to put that up against Bad Company, I'm sorry, bro. And I understand
rigged.
people to each his own, and people have different likes and dislikes, but
it was rigged.
Bullshit.
A bullshit.
All right. So anyway, what we're talking. So now you got me all riled up. So what we're talking about is FEMA, and so let's just bring up the one picture because this is kind of what we're talking about here. So here is just one picture. I only got one picture. I'm not bringing up a shitload of pictures. So this was actually kind of a little creek. And so it washed up, and it washed half all this shit out.
Wow.
It was just a little creek. They showed it before. It was a little creek, and now it's like a freaking chasm. It's like the damn, what do you call it?
Wow.
Grand Canyon.
There you go.
It's ridiculous. And so this is the kind of damage that that suffered there for Hurricane Helen in North Carolina. So I don't know if you want to start on that because I got my own things, but do you want to start on?
I'll let you take the start on that one if you're good. Yeah, it's crazy, man. And there's still people that are without permanent living
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad.
Right.
Sad, but that $750 definitely.
Yeah, and they said it wasn't $750.
started.
They said that it was actually much more than that.
Ah,
No, it wasn't. Because you could put in for more, you could request more,
good luck.
but
with
that was a process. That
Right.
wasn't what they did. They gave you like $750 to go stay in a hotel and maybe buy some food somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roger. I wish it was just what they got. They had one guy was talking about when they talk about the storm surges and swells, and just we're talking about creeks and stuff. There was like a 20-foot swell out of a creek
Holy shit.
that took out half a freaking hillside and took out all these homes behind it or down
Down below.
at the bottom. Yeah, down below.
Holy shit.
20 foot. So so it's crazy. So the reason, and like we've said, FEMA. This is just not under the Biden administration where FEMA has been incompetent for years.
Right.
For years, and I don't understand. One of my things I don't understand who, like what. So let me ask you this question. So what would you think? Because I don't know. What qualifications would you have to have had, or would you have to be able to be hired for FEMA?
I don't know. The way things look, it's like just show up.
Right, and I know they have finance people, because they have the money and stuff. But to be like boots on the ground, to be on the ground, like what qualifications would be on my resume, that would need my resume that says you're qualified to work at FEMA?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I would think you would have to have like some sort of disaster background. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
So how do you get that, right? I mean, okay, so I lived through a disaster, so I'm qualified.
right. Well, I mean, like, the National Guard, like ex-military,
That's true,
things
true,
like
true.
that, I would think would be,
That's
like,
a good one,
we're
actually.
moving you to the head of the class.
That's a good one. So one of the big things that FEMA has gotten, they actually caught shit for, is how slow they are to disasters. So part of the thing is, and now granted, I'm former military, so I understand. Like when something's getting ready to happen, you start gearing up, right? So apparently, in a lot of there is, I went on Department of Homeland Security's website,
which is a gem.
But they did have an IG report on, say, the last handful of years, last I think 8 years or whatever it was. No, actually, I take that back. It's longer. It's like the last 12 to 14 years. Anyway, just how FEMA reacts to things, like their performance,
right.
Basically what it is. And so one of the big things on that whole report was how slow they are. And so what I don't understand is when a hurricane's well, let me do this first. You should have your shit staged basically 24/7. Whether that's water and say MREs for food or any other materials or like say say I don't know, porta potties or tents for whatever temporary shelters or whatever.
Right.
So number one, your stuff should already be set up, staged, ready to roll.
You would think
24/7. Okay. So that's one. Number two, it's like they were talking about how slow they are. So once like say a hurricane's potentially getting ready to hit, it's like when you have snow, when the snow blizzard's coming. I used to with my stepfather. He drove a dump truck, and he was one of the ones that was on a contract with the state.
right.
So when they knew that there was something going on, they would already stage the drivers.
Right.
So when you knew something, there was like 2 or 3 hours beforehand. You're already in the truck, ready to roll.
Right.
And staged at the big thing where it has the salt and everything else. And as soon as they know it's hitting, they load the salt up and they hit it.
Right.
So for FEMA, it should be the same thing.
Unless, I mean, the only thing I can think of is that maybe it's the fact that as a state level, these are the things that they would expect you to do, and then once everything settles down, then FEMA would come in. But I agree with you.
So
it still should be staged regardless of the fact somewhere, because it's going to hit.
Well, it always starts with management. If management fucks up, you really can't blame stuff. Well,
Yeah.
that's true. I'll give you that, Dutch. I will absolutely give you that. But so here's the thing. So if you do that, so if I'm head of FEMA, let's say I'm the head of FEMA for, let's say, the Eastern Seaboard or
Right.
Eastern side. I know a hurricane's coming. So immediately, as the head, I'm already on the phone with the governors of these states,
Right.
probably the National Guard commanders of those states, and I'm already talking. We're already saying, or whatever. And so the National Guard might say, okay, we have this and this, but we're lacking this. So pretty much right off the bat, we're going to need you to come in with this.
Right.
Okay. So I would already have had those conversations. As a matter of fact, let me take that a step further. I would have those conversations before hurricane season starts. And so let me get on the horn with Florida. Let's just have the Eastern. All right. So Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas.
Right. Because we know it's going to happen.
And we know it's going to happen. So I'm immediately going to say before hurricane season, okay, guys, here's where we are. I'm gonna see what kind of money we got in the coffers there that we can do for fun or for relief.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to talk to these guys. I'm going to talk to the governors, and I'm going to talk to the commanders of the National Guard units. Where are we at?
Right.
So when if anything hits, what is it that we need to stage and ready to roll, and what do you lack?
Gotcha. Now, the only other thing I can think of too is I used to do fire and water restorations, and I know that the way that the insurance companies work is basically I would go in and I would assess the situation, and I could look and say, okay, this home has X amount of damage. This is how much it's going to take for everything, paint, trim, woodwork, whatever we would need, and labor. This is how much it's going to cost. And as far as me cleaning all the contents and everything in the house, this is how much that's going to cost. So I would be able to give them, let's say it's going to cost me $150,000 to get everything where this house needs to be. So the insurance company would want that first, and then they would remove money, because they invest all their money as well, from the investments. Now, me saying it's going to be $150,000, they might do like $170,000 just in case.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when we would start to do anything, because we needed to give that monetary wise assessment prior to doing anything. So maybe it's something like that too, is that they send out teams and say, okay, here's what we're looking at. This is how much it may cost. And then they assign whatever money comes from wherever to take care of that.
Right.
But still, you would think that, just like you're saying, we know that this is going to happen and it's going to hit here. So let's get everything ready that, we know we're going to need water, blankets, all this other stuff. And then let's go have it ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I agree.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. And yeah, so you just make sure that you've had that conversation. And because the problem is with FEMA is that they're the ones that kind of come out early,
right,
to set things up to get people at least to. I mean, your home might be gone, but they're to give you at least to a somewhat as best normalcy as they can.
right.
And British Rail excuses for no trains after storms and heavy snow. 1, leaves the line. 2, it's the wrong sort of snow. Incompetence knows no national boundaries. Oh,
Yeah.
so I guess they can't do it because you get some of those fools in up in there in northern Canada. Shit, they don't care how much snow's in there, man. They got that freaking
That train.
that goes in
Yeah.
there and just blasts through it.
Yeah, don't be standing around when that thing hits you.
Nah. And one of the big things with FEMA is once they've gone and done their thing, right, and they've gotten funds and stuff. One of their big issues is they're criticized for not closing out disaster declarations on time. Like they've extended closeout periods for 41 programs without justification, which delayed project closures up to 16 years.
Wow.
So there are still closures for Katrina that they haven't closed out. And so you say, okay, what's the big deal? Well, here's the big deal, especially in Katrina. So for Katrina, I know that there is, I looked it up, there is close to $9 million sitting in the fund to pay out.
Yeah.
Right. And it's sitting there. It's frozen.
Wow.
They haven't put it to anything else, and it's been frozen there for years. And you talk about $9 million. You know,
That's a lot
you
of
gonna tell
money.
me that people still in New Orleans that were affected by Katrina still couldn't use that $9 million?
Right.
So once they close it out, then that money can be transferred funneled somewhere else. So that's another big thing. And of course, what we've seen here recently, they're criticized for using FEMA for political purposes. Now, I did a little research myself, and apparently this is not the last or the first time this has happened. Where they're like, okay, we're gonna do these first, and then we'll get to the ones just based on political shit.
Right.
And again, I mean, we can go back and forth on that, and you know, they said this, well, no, they didn't. Well, this happened, well, no, it didn't.
Right.
But when you get enough people talking shit,
Yeah.
something's happened.
Right. Well, that's like I say, if one person calls you an idiot, and then 14 people call you an idiot, then you're an idiot. One person, so what? But yeah, with the other thing, I also was doing some digging around as well. So the common practice, and again, this is from FEMA, actually from that Marne, Washington, is the common practice for teams to skip certain streets after past hostile interactions. So even with Katrina, there were some areas that they stayed away from simply because of, you know, this is high theft and things like that. So they actually went around those and took out all the other outskirts before they went in there. And that was the thing, is that FEMA always preaches avoidance first and then de-escalation. So it's almost assuming that if you go in that area, shit's going to go down.
And I saw in Katrina where they actually had National Guard out there,
Right,
with Humvees, just to protect the workers, but two, to keep from protect looting, because there were still businesses that were standing.
right,
They needed some work, you know, whatever, but they were trying to protect the businesses and stuff. Because let me tell you something, when you get disasters like this, you will get, you'll see some of the best people,
Yep.
or some of the best in people, but you'll see some of the worst, and you'll see some people looting,
oh yeah,
and robbing people. It's like, bruh,
mm-hmm.
people have lost everything, and you're fucking around
Yeah.
with that shit.
You're just going to put salt on the wound at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. No, because going back to that, what I had found is, so FEMA discriminated against Trump followers years back. They actually discriminated against churches and synagogues, and also religious community centers, which I thought was kind of weird, because like usually when something happens, what do? You go to church.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of the churches and community centers, they already have planned this, just like you were stating, and these are one of the first places that people would go to that are involved in a church, right?
Yeah, and that's usually where the first line of defense is, where the churches are usually helping the people in
Right.
these situations with food, shelter,
Sure.
whatever. It's usually the churches that help that out.
Right. Well, it's amazing that, going back to that in June of 2017, there were 3 Texas churches and 2 Florida churches that actually sued FEMA simply because they did not do anything for them. So, but these are the first line of defenses for people to go to, but FEMA never reimbursed them, never gave them money, nothing.
And I know that in some places, I know with Katrina, and I also know with Hurricane Helen in North Carolina, FEMA actually prevented them from helping. Said, no, you stay back. We're handling this, and don't get involved.
Right.
And of course, FEMA, like we've already said, who's completely incompetent, ended up taking weeks to get things even started. Where, some of these churches had already met, with community centers, and they were ready to already start housing people,
Right.
like that. And FEMA told them to back off.
Yep. And the whole discrimination thing actually ended in 2018 because of the lawsuit. which is amazing because again, if you go to the FEMA website, they actually have this information on there that up until like 2017, they have always discriminated against the churches, the synagogues, and any type of religious community centers. So in 2018, they were like, no, we're not going to do this anymore. It's, we were wrong in doing that. But then you have a story like you just got, and that's what happens.
So I wanted to look up something because I remember somebody saying that FEMA on their website had their, I don't know what you call it, like their mission statement or whatever it was, and it talked about how they're looking for equality, where it's like where they're basically talking about, let's just see how FEMA works. I can't really see this. So basically, we're talking about how it was a kind of a racist statement in the fact that they were going to help certain people first. Let me see. I probably should have researched this beforehand. This is my bad. I just wanted to see it, but I know it was name of FEMA director. And you're a real piece of work.
Yeah, I'm sure she's going to be
it's
stepping
not
down
it's,
shortly.
Yeah, I don't see it. You got to go through that. She's changed it since then because they had a letter from the FEMA administrator. This actually included some of that stuff. She has changed that. She's taken that down. So, okay. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so that's funny that they have that, or that they no longer have that.
Yeah, because there were some other things that I found also. I can't say amusing, but Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Texas actually sued FEMA in 2008 because of the temporary housing trailers. So, did you happen to catch any of that?
I did not.
Okay.
No.
So apparently, there was a company that built these trailers specifically for FEMA when that storm came running through, and they put these people up in these trailers. Now, the thing of it is that a lot of people were getting sick from being in these trailers, and there's actually some people that physically died. And this started back in 2006, 2007. It took till 2007 for FEMA to go in, hire an outside division to come in and do testing for air quality in these trailers. Well, come to find out, there was a really high reading on formaldehyde. And that's why these people were getting sick. So in 2008, these states actually went after FEMA, which then FEMA in turn sued this trailer company, which I think it was in 2022 or 2023, finally paid them. And I want to say it was like $46 or $47 million is what this whole thing came up to. So, of course, the lawyers, their firm took, it was like 20 million. 20,
of course they did.
20.6 million. And then by the time they broke all the money down to these 55,000 people, they got a little over $4,000 each.
A bullshit?
Yeah, you're not kidding.
A bullshit?
So
bullshit.
we almost killed you because of the formaldehyde.
What was it in the wall panels or some shit?
Apparently it was in everything. There were high levels of formaldehyde. So, I mean, like even when you get a new car, that smell is formaldehyde because of all the different materials that are in there. But yeah,
Shit.
Sorry, we almost killed you, but here's $4,000 and have a nice day.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So then, which I already said in 2017, the 3 Texas and 2 Florida churches sued. Then you have in March of 2018, FEMA employees actually sued FEMA because they weren't getting paid for their overtime that they worked.
And you know when you go to like that kind of environment, like disaster, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know they're working.
Yeah, it's not a 9 to 5.
Nah.
Yeah. So they
How the hell do you get formaldehyde in the trailer?
Yeah.
That's in Dutch. I have no clue. Is it what they treat? Is it what they treat it with or something to prevent?
I don't know.
Something?
Yeah, but it was pretty high. I didn't notate what the levels were. So yeah, you've got their own employees in March of 2018 that sued for unpaid overtime. Then you have in 2023, Florida, Louisiana, Idaho, Kentucky, Mississippi, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Texas, and Virginia that actually sued in June of 2023 for the way that the sharp raises to flood insurance rates went up. So usually I thought what I was reading is there was a ceiling of about 18% per year that these would go up. So somehow they took the maps and they were manipulating and expecting, future things. So with that, they actually went up. I want to say it was almost like 180%. So you have people that were paying like $850 a year for flood insurance, which now, you're going up to like, a couple $1,000 a year overnight.
Yeah.
For that. So they were actually sued for that, which is still being worked out. And then, of course, now in November of 2024, you have the state of Florida that are suing because of the whole Trump followers, the Trump supporters with the signs and everything that they were hostile and they
like
had
this?
to go about. Yeah, pretty much.
Come back, it's my neighbor's sign.
Yeah. So apparently there was a report where there was an older couple, again in Florida, that an independent contractor was coming through, I guess, to kind of assess everything. And he told them point blank, hey, you might want to get rid of those Trump signs out front because you're going to get skipped. And that's exactly what they did. And that's kind of goes in hand
So
in hand.
I did see the report on the older people.
Yeah.
So FEMA is like so for instance, part of the issue is, so if you look here, so when you're talking about floodplains and when they assess flood insurance, so FEMA, now this is something that blows my mind, right? Because FEMA, who also uses satellite imagery and all this other stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've been using, for whatever effing reason, they've been using antiquated floodplain. So as you can see right here, this is a case in point. So this right here is the actual creek. All right. Now this is one of the creeks. One of the creeks. This is before it actually came through. That this was the one that blew the sides and everything else, right? So this is the actual creek location. You can see it coming this way, and it comes down through here. This, the blue line, is where FEMA says it is. Then you see the floodplains on either side of it. Okay, you're a little bit closer up this way, but when you get down here, you're not even. So that means everybody that's this side of the creek
are screwed.
Yeah, that's over here on this side.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even in the floodplain. So then they're not even going to offer you flood insurance.
Right.
And it's like, what the? How do you, with all the technology we have, how do you get this freaking far off? So Bucky here, he's good to go, but homeboys down here,
you're screwed.
You're screwed.
Wow.
One government office I worked in was shut down due to Legionnaire's disease. Oh shit.
Yes.
They found a water system, huge asbestos amounts, 1943. But so in case you have Rodri is in Wales.
Okay.
So older stuff, I get that. But Legionnaire's disease, holy shit. Damn, bruh.
Jesus.
Pretty soon you'll be talking about Black Plague and all kind of shit. So other issues with it, they've had mistakes in handling debris. FEMA was not allowed private haulers to dump debris, so they just tons of debris because you don't have a specific contract with us,
right? But
yet I can't get all of the people who are with the company don't have enough trucks and stuff to handle this much debris,
right?
So instead of what they call it ECP, which is modifying the contract. I'm gonna bring you on so we can do it. They're like, no. So then debris just piled up, which caused, more, could cause disease because this stuff just gets wet and whatever. Other kind of critters that cause disease,
Right.
and mold, and everything else.
Right. Well, not including any other rain or anything that's going to come next. I mean, they got to kind of steer around that stuff too.
No Stroud in England. I'm not sure what that means.
No, Stroud in England. Okay.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I think he's from Wales. Actually, I think Roger's from Wales, but he lives in England.
Okay.
Or, outside of the Wales deal. So you had that. Handling debris. And then they said, and this was all found out because they were required to undergo biennial audits under Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief Emergency Assistance Act, and that's where they found out all this shit that FEMA was. And let me just explain this. I understand, and I've been in a lot of effed up situations with him, so I know that nothing in disaster relief or answering and going through that is 100% perfect. It's just impossible for that to be. Don't mess with Karen Smith. That's spot on. But you would think you would be improving,
right,
as it goes through these different,
right. You learn
disasters.
from your mistakes.
But it seems they keep committing the same mistakes over and over.
Right.
And so that's what this audit found, is that they're continuing to do the same stupid shit.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we ready to get on to the money issues?
Oh yeah. So if you guys remember, I think it was Trump that had said something in one of his rallies about the delay with FEMA had something to do with money that was allocated to, aren't those things good? Oh my God. That was allocated to the housing of the illegals. Yeah, this is some good stuff. They're not a sponsor.
Cattleman's Cup, double smoke. No, we're chomping on. Go ahead.
So this came out, and then of course you have the Harris camp that was like, no, this isn't true, blah, 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 blah. So again, in doing some digging, which is funny because it's all out there.
It's all out there, bro.
And I looked at, was it PolitiFacts?
Mm-hmm.
Was a website that said, this is not true, and all this other stuff. And they were getting a number of, it was $364 million in the fiscal year, as far as allocated towards, like the humanitarian thing. So, and again, this is out there. There was a bipartisan year-end omnibus that was signed by President Biden on December 29th of 2022, authorized the creation of a new SSP grant program to support these communities. Mm-hmm. The omnibus directed, which is CBP, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, to transfer $800 million in funding to FEMA to establish the SSP, which is the Shelter and Services Programs.
And what does that do?
Oh, so what that does is that actually helps all the illegals because they need to have food, they need to have water, they need to have housing, they need all these other things to live here, which is funny because the people that do live here are still homeless and have that $750 to kind of get them started. So you have these people that are living in 5-star hotels, mm-hmm. probably eating shrimp cocktail, lobsters, and all the other good stuff. So last year, more than $780 million was awarded through the SSP and the Emergency Flood and Shelter Program to actually help these illegal immigrants that have come into the country. Mm-hmm. Now, FEMA's program provides grants to communities for the expenses they will incur for handling migrants. $650 million in the fiscal year of 2024.
Yep. Shelter and Services Program is to provide humanitarian services to non-citizen migrants following their release from the Department of Homeland Security.
So, again, thank you, Hayden Harris. That was a bullshit claim that money was taken away to do that. So yeah, I found that interesting. Very interesting.
So it's kind of a so I know everybody, our audience is smart, but if you're not a little following, it's basically what we're talking is a shell game. So what they did is they created the Shelter and Services Program within FEMA, right, to handle illegal immigrant issues. So therefore, it's because what they considered is it disaster relief in the fact of all the immigrants we had coming over.
Right.
So therefore, you take that money and you hide it within FEMA. So FEMA's like, yeah, no, we got $650 million extra we got in.
Right.
So we're here helping all these families. But no, they took the $650 million that they took in, went right into the Shelter and Services Program, which helps illegal immigrants of $650 million. And now maybe sit over there, and now they don't have the funding. So guess because whatever the funding they did get allocated in 2023 was $364 million.
Right. Now, rewind a little bit on the one thing that I said is with this omnibus that was signed by President Biden, they were taking money away from the Customs and Border Protection to transfer $800 million in funding to establish the Shelter and Services Program. Now, what I said was last year more than $780 million was awarded through SSP. So I just gave you $800 million, and then the other number I gave you was $780 million. So it cost $20 million to create a brand new program, the SSP, in order to make this happen.
But see, we're not spending that on illegals because we took that money out of Customs and Border Patrol.
Mm-hmm.
So we took that money away from the border to help FEMA. But what they don't tell you is they put it in the SSP, which is only for illegal immigrants.
Correct.
So therefore, yeah. So they took money out of the Customs and Border Patrol's budget and gave it to FEMA.
Right, which they were already thinly spaced as it was now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and how many thousands a day of illegal immigrants are showing up at the border? Plus, you have a caravan now of what?
Yeah. Well, in Biden, their highlight, they were getting 12,000 a day. So they've just in their administration, they've had over 22.3 million just in those 4 years that they've been there.
Right, but don't forget that they took $800 million away to support these people once they get in.
Yeah.
But, you can't call out the National Guard because that, I'm sure, is going to cost money.
Well, that militarizes the law enforcement.
Okay.
We can't have that. That's kind of, that's what they're effing there for, but okay.
Yeah. So with that being said, which I think that's kind of comical, is I go to Cancun. I've been there like a couple times. And when you're out on the beach, you have the local police and also the federal army that are out there pacing up and down the beach to make sure that everybody is safe. Now, you could say that, yeah, that's kind of militarized. Well, they do it to keep people safe.
Yeah.
But God forbid if we do that to keep our people safe.
No, you can't do that. That's we can't do that.
No, it's not allowed.
And this information that, so we did not compare notes on this one, and so we actually pulled the exact same data. And guess where you get that from? You get that from the Department of Homeland Security's website
and the interwebs.
Mm-hmm. It was right on their actual website.
Yes.
But if you just take what the media gives you, you're not going to hear that.
Nope. No.
They're going to tell you that they pulled money away from the Border Patrol because they're not helping the illegals, and they gave it to FEMA.
Right. Yeah, because the numbers that you're going to hear, and again, you found it, same thing I found, was $364 million in the fiscal year that was allocated to help people with food and shelter, which is BS, because we now know what the true cost was. So, yeah, and the other thing that's on their website as well, and this is due to the substantial demand that exceeds the limited SSP program funding authorized by Congress, not all requests can be fulfilled. DHS continues to call on Congress to pass the bipartisan border security agreement, which I probably have a feeling this is going to happen before Biden goes, which would in part provide an additional $1.4 billion with a B in SSP funds and provide additional needed tools and resources to respond to historic global migration. Global migration. So when was the last time that FEMA has ever been out of the United States to help in such times of turmoil?
Well, correct. But we seem to have to help Mexico with all their stuff. Then we talk about, not getting off subject, but then we get into climate change. And then all of a sudden you get the Paris Accords where the U.S. is dropping billions and billions of dollars in this effing thing. And nobody else has even come close to that. Yet everybody's still buying shit out of Russia, China, and India.
Yep.
But yet we're the assholes, and even though we're fronting hundreds of billions of dollars for this, and then that's when Trump's like, "No, we're pulling out of this shit."
Yeah. And how many trillions of dollars are we in deficit at this point in time?
I don't even know right now. But that's okay. Just keep printing the money.
Absolutely.
All I know is 30-some% of my taxes get pulled out, not including what I pay in state and sales tax, property tax. So, yeah, I ain't feeling it.
Yeah, and on top of that, we have to. It's automatically taken out for Social Security,
which is gone.
Social Security is actually pitching in to help pay for these migrants as well, because they need the social services, which they're going to eat up. And then, God forbid, I think you and I might get $1 every month, if we're lucky, from Social Security.
Does he mean deposit? Not sure what you mean by that. Unless you're talking about, yeah, so it blows my mind. But so here, we're getting a little bit off from FEMA, but this is why it tweaks my nuggets. That we of the U.S. are always considered the fucking assholes,
right?
But we are spending deficit. Yes, yeah, it's insane. So we are the ones that spend all the freaking money across the whole effing world to help this, help that. Let's talk about NATO, talk about United Nations. We flip the majority of the bill when we're safe. We're like, we don't give a shit,
right?
But we're helping everybody else out. And I was like, but we're still the assholes.
Right.
And then the Paris Accord, we caught shit for that.
Right.
When we dropped, I forget, it was $80 billion. And I think the next country was like, I think it was like $8 billion or something like that. It was not even close. And I'm like, why, what we should, what they think we are as fascist stuff or nationalists, what we should do is just close the doors.
Yep.
Say, F everybody. We're staying right here in our own big country.
Right.
Fuck everybody else. We're not going to spend a damn dime on anybody else or put troops anywhere else to save your own freaking ass, which don't get me started on in Afghanistan or Iraq.
Right.
Where they wouldn't even defend their own freaking families and shit, motherfuckers.
So yeah, and I find that interesting, and the fact is that if the world wants to believe that America is fascist, well then guess what? If you're going to accuse us of it, why be it? Why not be it?
I'm serious, because I've put my life on the line, my money, my family's happiness, everything else. But it's not enough. You're still a fucking U.S. You're still an asshole.
Right.
Yeah, fuck everybody else. Anyway, talking about FEMA. So bad optics. Let's talk about some bad optics. So what didn't help is that Biden didn't because it's basically something that you do when a part of your country has been devastated. As the commander-in-chief is to go down and meet with the people and this, that, and the other. So Biden, it was, I don't know how long, I forget how long they said it was, before he even dragged his old decrepit old ass down there. And he was down there for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is he went and did this photo op in front of the damage, right? He was down there, did a photo op. He was there realistically, he was there for probably about 15, 20 minutes.
I think Trump was there longer than he was.
Trump was in there for days. Trump called Elon Musk. They went and put Starlink. If you don't know what Starlink is, it's a satellite communication system. They called Elon Musk. They went and set a bunch of these systems up because they didn't even have FEMA didn't even establish communications back,
and the people didn't even have
No,
communication.
exactly.
0 bars on their phone.
But Trump went down there and helped that out. But it's like, he's still a dick. Okay, well, whatever. Yeah. Who cares? But anyway, he did a photo op in front of this trash and stuff. So here's the problem with this. Well, there's many problems, but here's the big problem. When he went to the devastated area, they stopped traffic for hours. And when I say stop traffic, I mean relief coming in. Stop traffic so he can get this photo op. Not only did they stop the traffic, they stopped the restricted airspace. And guess what was coming? Guess what was coming in the airspace? Planes that were having relief, food, water, and this, that, and the other. But they shut that down for a couple hours so Biden could get his photo op. So even then, they held up efforts to help these people because they had to do a photo op. God, shitting me.
Now, did Hayden Harris go down there? Did Harris even bother to?
No, she was down there. She wasn't down there. So they even shut down the airports in there from 12:30 p.m. to 3:15. So you're talking about 3 hours where they were having. So the planes that were bringing in, and this was at Greenville, Spartan, and Asheville airports. So they had to reroute these relief planes to another airport, let them sit there for a while till this photo op was done, and then they allowed airspace to come back and actually allowed to bring food, water, and everything else back into this thing.
So now again,
jackass.
Let's
fucking idiot.
Let's take a look at the time here. So if they had that amount of time blocked off, that means that they blocked that airspace off in order for Air Force One to land there, and then wheels
Correct.
up at 3:15. So I'm sure that they have to allow. It's not like, okay, so you guys are going to land here at 12:30. So I'm sure they had to block off time prior to him landing.
That is correct.
So within that time period of less than 3 hours, he wasn't there for 3 hours, and Air Force One didn't have wheels on the ground for 3 hours. So that would make about sense, because it wasn't just like, from those airports 2 miles away was the devastation. So they had to drive there, take the pictures, drive back,
Yep.
and then get wheels up prior to the 315.
That is correct.
Ah.
Now, when Trump came in, he came in with a bunch of semis that were bringing in water, food, everything else.
Sure.
But yet Biden comes in, we got to shut everything down. And I know you need water. I know you're dehydrated, you need water, but I need a photo op, so we're going to hold you up for 3 hours.
Right.
What a fucking jackass. Shit.
But again, this wasn't on the news.
That wasn't.
You know what?
Thank you. Thank you.
Sons of bitches.
I know. It's just, again, I'm not saying that everything runs perfect in Trump's administration or anything else. But when you're MIA on the beach,
right,
for the last 6 months of your presidency, for sick, I don't even know what the F he's doing now.
Oh, he's writing shit.
Yeah. And then to keep Harris somewhat in the mix, you're going to come and do a photo op, and oh, by the way, we're going to shut down relief efforts so you could do a photo op.
Right. Now, and again, I'm just speculating here, is that I would be willing to bet that Biden and Harris are completely two different entities at this point in time.
Oh, they're not even
So
they're not even in the same building with each other now.
So I got something that came across my news feed this morning about Biden is actually working on passing a bill or signing something into Congress about the continuation of support and money going towards Russia and who are they fighting?
Ukraine.
Ukraine. So that will continue through the Trump administration. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of things that are going on in the background, a lot of bills and things like that are getting signed as we speak to do things continuation through the Trump administration. But going back to Trump, I mean, you have two individuals. You have Trump and you have Elon Musk. Two individuals. Doesn't matter how much money they make. They're American citizens. Two individuals that actually did more for those heavily devastated areas than what our government did.
Yeah. And oh, by the way, I'm a billionaire. So I'm not going down there. I'm not going down there with all that muck.
Yeah, I'm not getting my
dirt
shoes dirty.
And water and these effing rednecks and whatever else. Who gives a shit?
Garbage.
White trash. Because I'm over here in my penthouse. I'm a billionaire. I'm not dealing with that bullshit.
Right.
But no, both of them were knee deep in that. Okay, they weren't dirty. Like, didn't have Trump,
hypothetically
trailing through the swamp. Yeah, but they were down there and they were like, here, what can we do to help and stuff? And they brought in relief and everything else. And it's just like,
yeah,
it's.
Oh, and on top of that, I can tell you it's not cheap to get internet from outer space into a localized area. I mean, that is a paid service that people actually pay for that.
And and you talk about major companies that use this Starlink.
Right.
It's expensive as shit.
Yeah.
Elon Musk said, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
He said, let me just get communications up. Once we get communications up, we'll pull out. But, right now, they couldn't even communicate to do relief efforts.
Right. You couldn't even make a phone call.
Right. People were sitting there after 2 weeks still waiting for somebody to even know that they were there or could cut whatever.
Right.
And so it wasn't until they got there and they set all that up. And here's another thing that the news doesn't tell you. Trump actually reached out to the FEMA head of FEMA, what's her name, and deputies and stuff, and said, "Hey, I have a friend, Elon Musk, where because I've heard that you guys are having some issues with communications, we could set some up." And they said no.
Miss Criswell.
We're in the process thereof.
Right.
So guess what they did? They said, fuck you. And they went down anyway. And if they would not have, FEMA would have been, they said, estimate another 3 weeks before they actually established any kind of communications to even coordinate. Not even talk about, hey, I need a pound of butter. I'm talking about just to coordinate communications, to coordinate efforts to rescue people.
Right. Well, this is a government. You know how fast they move.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just.
Now, again.
And I want to just say this real quick.
No, sure.
So Elon Musk, before this, even the before this and before X,
right.
Before Twitter. Elon Musk is one of the brightest minds. All the liberals loved him. They thought he was, one of the greatest minds of our time. And he's just a visionary and this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden, when he took over X and said, no, I'm going to allow people to do whatever.
He's a piece of garbage.
And then, and aligned himself with Trump. Now all of a sudden, he's a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm. So, again, I just want to reiterate this. Gary and I, we're not news media. We're not affiliated with anything to do with any news anywhere. But I just think it's interesting that you and I did our separate investigating, and this is what we came up with. Now, I'm sure that it could have been dug even deeper. So, again, if, the whole fake news, if anybody gets a hold of this and say, oh, it's fake and all this other stuff, it's on the internet. It is on the internet.
And we just didn't go to one place.
Right.
And say, let's go to Fox News and we'll pull all this shit down. we went to Department of
Homeland
Security, went to the FEMA websites, pulled us off that, pulled us off the congressional budget office to find these to get numbers for what FEMA has spent.
Right.
Yeah, it's and anybody can go look it up, and I'm telling you, but no, nobody's do that. They take what these jackass
media
gives them, and they say, this, that, and the other.
Right. No.
Go look. So basically, what it said is when Ed and I, we just said, okay, what's our next topic? And we said, and I think Ed picked it. He's like, let's talk about. Well, we both talked about a couple other things. He's like, well, let's go with the FEMA fiasco and whatever. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
Then he and I went our separate things and looked up our own research.
Right.
And I went through, I don't know, Ed did too. I went through freaking 20 different sources to verify numbers to say, okay, this is what I know that's what they're saying, but are these people saying these people? Boom.
Right.
And so it's, if we could get away from the liberal bashing for a second, I would be more interested to hear what you think about Trump's proposed cabinet nominations. Would you now?
I'm not going to lie. Gates, I questioned. I
don't know if Gates. I don't know if Gates was actually 100% in the mix, or whether he was just trying to piss people off.
So, here's my thought. Here's my thought on that.
Gates is a little hot-headed and he's got his own issues.
So, I'm going to put this out there, and this is just my idea.
Yes.
Is I'm thinking, okay, so Trump being Trump, he's a businessman. And I believe that he made these picks, but there were some picks that were questionable. So I'm wondering if the whole thing with Gates was, okay, so here's what we're going to do. If you can put this guy up, we're not going to nominate him. But if you do this for the Republican Party, we're going to take care of you with some of the other picks. Do you see what I mean? So he was the one that got away because he had to, before he could do anything, he had to resign his position. And then like a week or two later, he's gone. So that's my thought, and again, that's only my thought. So don't don't look into it too deep, but
I think there was definitely some give and take with, because at some point, I don't say you sell your soul, but at least a little bit of at some point you got to kind of play the game a little bit, right? So that's kind of where. So I'm trying to find this because I know so. But what I will just say this, Rodri, liberal bashing is kind of what we do. That's kind of what we're about. Because, yeah.
Well, I would say we're more of like the truth. Sacrificial goats. That is correct. Go the extreme, expecting to get your second picks. Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Roger.
So Roger, you are right. So there is going to be
there's some sacrifices.
There's going to be a few throats cut. We're going to cut a few throats to kind of get where we need to. Now, I don't necessarily like that, but at the end of the day, when you get to politics or you get to a certain level of politics, it has to be.
Yeah, there's got to be,
because you will not get any support from anything else, and then you're kind of.
Yeah, you got to sell your soul a little bit to get what you want.
A little bit, which I would hope that, which I wish that wasn't the point. But yeah. So what I wanted to say. So here's kind of where this kind of to me says it all, at least for some people. So they know who the Department of Health and Human Services for Trump is RFK Jr. Now, some people have a problem with him. They say, "Oh, this is kind of blah blah blah." So I would care to say, here is Biden's Secretary of Health and Human Services. And not picking on the transgender, but this is a dude, not a woman. So right off the bat, you think, okay, well now maybe we consider your thinking's not so clear because you're a woman or a guy that thinks you're a woman. And when I think of health, I'm sorry, I don't envision. This is not the picture that pops in my head when I think of health and human services, or think of somebody that's in charge of health.
Well, I guess
I'm just going to say
my question is what the hell did she do for this past term? I don't know. I haven't. I have no clue, and I'm not picking on her because she's transgender.
No, that's the least of the. I'm talking about just.
No, I got you.
Yes, Dutch. That's a dude. Oh, excuse me. She was born as a male and has not transitioned
fully.
But yes, has. I get this mixed up. XX.
Yes.
XX chromosomes.
So. Yeah, and again, I'm not against transgenderism or anything like that. But
live your life. I could give a shit.
It's just like I don't know what she has done. Like, there's nothing that stands out to me that says she did an awesome job, and yeah.
What was the? Wait a minute. I don't know if it's travel.
That's Buttigieg, right?
No, he's Department of Transportation.
Same thing.
Hold on. There we go. All right. I forget what was it.
Non-binary. Yeah, but Biden and the Dems are on their way out, so it's a moot. Yeah.
Oh, this was the what do you want to call them?
Is this the commission? Didn't they have to create a commission?
This is new. So this was this was his. So this was. Hold on, because I believe, yes, it does say a little bit of something. Now you could say, "Oh, you're just picking on this and the other," and you can believe that all you want. But when you're telling me I'm looking for cabinet officials, cabinet members, okay, then I have to say. So here's his pick for part of the the administration on the nuclear commission.
Now, I would say she
Yeah, go ahead.
No, she would be hot without the mustache. I was kidding.
So isn't Kennedy anti-vax in charge of health?
That is correct.
That is correct. So if you want us to do a show on vax versus non-vax, we could do that.
Oh,
I have done an enormous amount of research on the vaccinations and thereof. But anyway, this is his administration pick for nuclear commission, and this individual, and I can't remember what the frick the name is. Anyway, it doesn't really matter because whatever, was actually arrested for stealing people's luggage and wearing their dress. So he stole the luggage of this designer, black woman from Africa, that she had like some of these really cool designs or whatever. Stole her bag, and not only did that, but wore one of the dresses out on a gala or whatever of one of these things, and was photographed in the dress.
Was
so,
that it?
Huh?
Was that the dress?
No, it was much more colorful or flowery. It had a bunch of flowers, kind of poofy sleeves. Come on, my dad was a scientist, and my woman died because she hadn't been vaccinated against smallpox. Okay, well, we're not going to get personal in here about Rodri, but even smallpox had. So let's get into it for 2 seconds. Explain to me how much data, how much time was actually given to the vaccination for COVID. So you're trying to tell me that they had messed with this thing for a couple months, maybe 6 months, and therefore you are and there was just I won't say just as many, but there was a shitload of people that died from the vaccination as well. And they also are now coming out to say that this vaccination is actually altering some of the DNA in people, not like mutant, like turn them into freaking Swamp Thing.
Yeah, I'd do that.
But is changing their body and how it either regulates things or how it reacts to different things nowadays.
Well,
right, and you had that. Plus, now you have kids that are so mentally
inept.
Well, so back from this stuff. So there was also because of the vaccination, this and the other. Hey, Mega Dog, for the vaccination, this and the other, they kept them out of school. There was overwhelming child abuse cases that happened because they weren't at school, couldn't get thing. The kids have actually suffered emotional trauma because there wasn't any classification or not classification, interaction or whatever. So
not as much as you.
I didn't say many more died without getting it than got it. But Roger, if you want to go toe to toe on this, man, I'll be happy to, because I'm gonna tell you right now, the simple fact that they did not have it, and oh, by the way, how many people in power had investments in Pfizer and Moderna?
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah. So if you think this was strictly a health issue and that people did that for health, then I'm gonna throw the bullshit. Then I'm gonna call bollocks on you. I'm gonna say fuck bullshit.
Well, I think
they didn't have the fucking data, dude. They did not have the data that said this is what it would prevent. Because actually they found it because go look it up. The CDC even came back and apologized to the world because they said it wasn't what we thought it was and we were wrong.
Now, Rodri, I with that being said, I don't think it's about the smallpox, and because there's a lot of stuff that are starting to come back now that were eradicated because of vaccines.
Measles, they found measles.
Yes. Now, I think with Kennedy, what it is with him is the whole vaccinations with the with COVID, which Gary is talking about.
So, no, he did not. See
He,
that.
w-
See
he was
now
kidding when he
he
said
was kidding when he said maybe we should like. See, here we go. I'm gonna need you to do your research, bro. I love you as a brother, but you're gonna need to do your research because you're just spouting the bullshit from the media. That's not what he said. That's not what he said. It's just like the same thing that say Joe Rogan said that he was taking horse hormones.
Yeah.
That's not what he said. So I'm gonna need you to do your research, bro.
So
Sorry.
Okay. I'm going to throw the gauntlet down. This is going to be our next show.
Play it. What's our next show?
We're going to do the next show is going to be with the vaccination.
Oh.
What do you
Okay.
think?
I'm fine with that.
All right. So, Rodri, we're going to do our research. At least I'm going to do my research. I know you've already been
I've done a
researching
bunch,
this.
but I will verify and double check my research.
Okay. So,
Make sure it's still valid.
yeah, I would like to do this for our next show. Not as, I would say, as an argument.
Not
as
an argument.
as a philosophical argument. A discussion is the way that I look at it. But yeah, I would like to dive a little bit deeper into this just for myself,
Right.
so I can be a little bit more educated in this conversation.
Sorry, Rodri. That's what. And again, and again, this is not to prove Rodri wrong or to even say anything about this. What I want to do is get out there as I want to draw a clear line as to what the media has said and what the actual facts are, right? And I want to just make sure that we all understand exactly what has happened, because I know this is going to get personal for some people. I see that. I know that.
Right.
Um,
Well, but not only that, but with Trump coming back into office, and now you have RFK Jr. coming in, this is going to be a topic of discussion as they try, as Trump
Right.
tries to get him into that position. So, yeah, I think this is perfect.
Right. And, and in the research, then they found out that they were wearing these little bullshit masks. They're saying that these masks do not prevent whatever. And as a matter of fact, they were creating health issues with the people that were wearing them.
Yeah, I
because
know.
they had to wear them 24/7. Well, not
Right.
24/7, but,
Yeah.
like say when you were at the office. So let's say you're at the office, then you got to go pick up something for dinner. So they had to wear it from the minute they got into maybe in the car,
Right.
all the way to the office, all through the work day, and they were saying they were getting just sickness and stuff, which was actually reducing their immune system,
Right.
which actually made them more susceptible that they came in contact with COVID. So anyway, there's all kind of stuff, and we can go over it. That's
Yeah.
fine. I do not have a problem with that, and I will say, or I will come up with some of the media's BS. Well, talking points. They said this was happened, and I'll get the actual transcript and say this is exactly what was said.
Yeah, Rodri, thank you for joining in on that one. I really
I never want
appreciate
you.
that.
I never want you to think that you're not welcome or that you shouldn't be here.
Right. No, absolutely, Rodri. Thank you. I like it.
And otherwise, Roger, you can go fuck yourself.
That's just not right. That's coming from this guy, not from this guy.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, yeah. The part of the show is for people to what do you call it?
Challenge.
Challenge us. There we go.
Absolutely.
Man, I can't think. So it's to challenge us.
Yeah.
Fine, we will go and do research, and it'll just be, and we'll present, and then even at the end of that, people are still going to have their viewpoints.
Right. Well, I mean that's
And if we don't, and we're not looking here to change anybody, we're just going to do the research. Said this is what's been said, and this is what it is, and this is what's happened. And at the end of the day, we still may not agree on what
right.
has been said, or what we agree is the final result.
Right. Well, I mean that's like with any argument, and again, I mean that in a philosophical way. You already have your belief in something before you go into the argument.
Mm-hmm.
And when you leave, you're still going to have that same belief that you did coming in, but you were given the opportunity to give your point of view.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by a philosophical argument is that, yes, we are going to listen and we want to hear everybody's side from it. So that's what I mean by argument.
Yeah. And like I said, and we'll talk about this, but I know of a guy that worked for me. He had a blood clot issue, right? And they told him that it is a mandate that you have to get the vaccination or you lose your job. So he had a serious situation that he had to make a life decision to where, and all those jobs he was a developer, and all those jobs because Biden came down with a federal mandate.
Right.
Said if you're a contractor for the government, you have to have it or you're gone. And he brought in all this documentation from his doctor that says it has proven that this vaccination can cause blood clots and whatever. And he's like, I can't take this because if I get this date, and if I get a blood clot, I'm done.
Yeah.
Because I'm susceptible to blood clots. And he lost his job.
Yeah, I mean, my thing, I agree with him. I'd say, fuck that job. I don't care how much you're getting paid.
Right. But the point is I mean, he was the only breadwinner. So then he had to find a couple jobs that he was doing this and the other before his family was just done. And guess what? If he would have lost his job and couldn't find another one, you think the government would have given a shit?
No, you don't.
You think he would have been ready for a welfare? It's like, no, you made too much money, bro.
Right.
You're fucked. So, I understand, Roger. There's so many aspects to this and so many different ways we can approach it, which I think we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can approach it from a personal side. And, Roger, with your personal situation and everything else, I'm sure you hold a certain belief in that.
I'd have some animosity in it, too.
I agree. And and I'm not going to deny you of that either.
Right. Yeah, Roger, I'm sorry for your loss, man.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
So what we're going to do, we're just going to do what we do.
It's come up with what we come up with.
What would we come up with? And
yeah,
we'll present it, and then it's there.
Yeah.
And people can challenge us on it and this, that, and the other, and that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know that we went over our hour time limit, well, what we set for ourselves. Now, I will say...
I don't know if we've ever done that.
I know that we were talking about an hour. No, we've never done an hour. But I will say this, is that it's going to be... This next show is going to be a longer show.
It will be. It's not going to be... That I can tell you it's not going to be an hour.
Yeah, so...
But that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think I pissed him off. Sorry, Roger. But, yeah. Yeah. We'll do that, and... So, matter of fact, once we get off of here, well, not right when we get off of here, but early this week, I'm going to post that for a new topic.
Oh, yes.
And see how, just see if we generate a whole lot of
absolutely
whatnot.
Absolutely.
So,
all right. Well,
yeah.
Everyone, thank you for joining. Rodri, thank you so much for getting in with the topic. Megadog, thank you so much. Dutch, it's good to see you again.
Dutch and I think too much alike. It's kind of scary.
That is scary. So I'd like to thank all the firefighters, all the armed forces. Thank you for what you guys do every single day. Police officers, thank you for the sacrifices that you make, your family makes for you. I can't thank you enough. And especially to the United States of America. I think we're going to see some good things. It's going to be shaky for the first year or so, but we need to get this ship in the right direction again.
And that's my only thing I'm going to say. Then I'm going to be done. Is if it, and I understand a lot of people don't like Trump, and that's fine. And I don't really give a shit because other countries, whatever. I don't give a shit. But I hope here at least we can back off a little bit, let him do what he needs to do at least for the first 100 days, right? See what I mean? Because here's my thing. He can't. There's no way he's gonna fuck it up more than we're already done.
No,
we're already paying $5 for freaking milk. People can't afford groceries. It's freaking ridiculous. One-bedroom apartment that my daughter did was like $1,500. Now a one-bedroom apartment's upwards to almost $3,000.
And that's more than a mortgage.
It's more than a mortgage, and it's like, bruh, okay, something has to, and I'm just going to say this, something has to have led to that. Now, if people want to say, well, it's Trump and that's what they left him with,
I call bullshit.
I call bullshit too. But that's my point, is something has led to this, and it has to be on somebody's watch that their policies and everything else, and if they think Trump did it, okay, well, let's look at that.
Right.
But
Right.
I can tell you, I've done research.
Well, I have a feeling, too, like I said earlier with that feed that came across my phone this morning, is that there's going to be a lot of shit that's going to happen with the Biden administration before he gets out. And we're not going to find out about it until a year or two in with Trump in office. Because I can tell you, I would be doing the same shit. You know, if I believed 100% in something, I'd be signing that shit. You'd never even see it. So,
And Dutch, I agree. And I'm not saying that we run the world, but it's like when there's something, when stuff bad's here, like inflation and like the value of the dollar and stuff, it does affect across the world,
Absolutely.
especially world markets.
absolutely.
So I would care to say that even some of your inflation is probably somewhat due to what we got going over here.
Yeah,
It affects world markets.
absolutely.
So yeah. So I think it's and just by the way, never put your emoji with a halo over your head. You should have the devil horns there.
Lord
Satan.
have mercy.
Speaking of which, and I'm done. So I saw this commercial for a new Christmas movie coming out, and it's about this kid that they're talking about how they write letters to Santa, and so he writes a letter to Santa, but he doesn't spell very well, and he puts Satan.
Oh shit.
So they got Jack Black
Oh.
playing Satan.
Oh god.
So he comes to he manifests whatever to this kid, and he's like doing all this like evil shit, to people.
Man.
Like people, putting all these lights up, and then all they go out. And so so there's one piece where the kid's like, "Can we just maybe do some good for a change?" And he's like, "I don't even know what you just said right now."
Oh my. Oh my.
So it looks like it could be funny with Jack Black as the devil, as Satan.
Oh my.
Because he wrote to Satan instead of Santa because he doesn't spell well.
That's funny.
Anyway, could be funny.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Contact us. Follow us down below. Subscribe. Oh, what is this?
Here it's mostly rent, house prices, and tobacco. Houses are up 15 to 20% year over year, and my salary is not. And see, that's another thing.
Right.
Inflation has gone up, but
Cost of living.
Cost of living's gone up, but not
Our pay.
not salaries.
Right. Right.
And so house prices here are up, and tobacco's not. Well, tobacco's up, but a lot of people. I don't know if like overseas that they're still like heavy tobacco users, smokers and stuff. Over here, not so much.
Yeah.
So the government found out. Oh hell, we're losing a lot. We're losing a lot of income or revenue off of the taxes and tobacco because people are giving up smoking.
Right.
So now they've attached it to alcohol, to vaping.
Oh my God, the whole vaping thing. Jesus.
And there's going to be a lot more. There's going to be a lot more people who are going to say, "Hey, we ought to legalize marijuana," not because they really give a shit about anybody else. It's because taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So, hell, I say, have you go do that? Go ahead for prostitution.
God, could you imagine that?
Oh Lord, have mercy.
So, what's your tax rate, ma'am? How about you? What's your tax rate?
Yes.
I'll take the one with the lower tax rate.
Yep, smoking's still a thing here.
Oh,
yeah, not
Lord.
so much here. I used to be a smoker. I enjoyed smoking. I'm just gonna let you know that right now. I loved it. Oh, it was so good. That and a cup of coffee in the morning. Whoo! Okay.
I'll take the coffee. You can keep the smoking.
Oh, cigarette. That was good stuff. All right. Anyways,
Jeez.
we got to go meet the ladies for dinner.
Yes.
They're Ed and my wife's out watching what is it? Wicked, the movie.
Speaking of which, I am so glad it's out in the theaters now, and let's end the damn commercials for that shit.
They're not. They're going to keep going.
Oh, God.
And I'm just going to say one thing, and I'm not trying to be an asshole. But the witch, I seen her without the makeup. She still looks like a witch. I mean, she is scary. I'm sorry. She's a black woman. Not that that's scary, but she's like, bald.
She's like 4 foot tall, a little girl.
Yeah, and she's got like 500 earrings and a nose ring. Her nose, which I thought was, and I'm not trying to be an asshole.
It's prosthetic, but it's not.
I thought it was prosthetic. It's not. It's her real nose.
But she can sing.
She can sing.
She can sing.
She can sing. She can belt, but damn. All right. Anyway, so
all right, guys.
Yeah. Mega Dog, you have a great week. It's good to see you, Mega Dog. We haven't seen you in a long time.
Yes. Thank you.
And we will see you guys in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And we're also thinking about getting through the holidays and possibly in January, maybe having, maybe going every week.
Yeah, because believe me, we'll have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be.
See ya, Dutch.
Oh, I think I pissed Rodri off.
Oh, Rodri.
Sorry, Rodri. Hopefully we'll see you next week after next.
Please come back
in 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
And like I said, we'll have the show and then we'll see where we are.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for signing in. And till the next time.
Audio. Let me find. Where's my button?
Where is it?
Oh, there it is.
Outro?
Yeah, go ahead. Hit it.
Can I hit it? Nice.